So today I'm going to harvest what has turned out to be our biggest pea crop yet. Plant a new potato bed, spread some mulch around the garden, and show you just how much this little patch of ground has changed after years of trying to build healthy soil here. But mostly I think this video is about something else. It's about grief and hope and the strange way life keeps moving even when your heart feels like it's standing still. Hey, so I brought my dad's ashes home this weekend. So it's been pretty emotional still and very sad because my dad used to watch every video that I made. He really enjoyed being able to see what we're up to, and even though he used to watch and criticize how we were doing everything, but that was just Dad. He wanted things done his way. So yeah, I've said before that getting out in the garden really helps me to process all those feelings. And you know, my uncle said to me that, you know, reminded me that we need to make the most of the time we have left, and that's what I intend to do. I feel like we can't just wait around until life's perfect to start being happy. So, you know, I'm going to use these YouTube videos as an opportunity to continue talking to my dad and giving him updates. So we've had a lot going on, but you know, over the last 5 years since we bought this off-grid property, we have amended the soil a lot of compost and stuff like that, and we now make our own compost. So hopefully we'll get to the stage where we can just use our own compost. But you know, now some of our veggies and flowers are now starting to thrive, multiply, self-seed everywhere, and it's amazing seeing things come to life of their own accord without you having to do anything, which is really nice. And we've been able to give herbs away to our neighbours. We've had plenty of peas to pick. Yeah, our cabbages are coming along, and the strawberries that Beck and Mal helped me, the runners that they helped me sow a couple of weeks ago now, are really starting to thrive too. So it's nice to see something's really starting to settle in and feel like they belong here. So yeah, we've still got some dry, hot days ahead, I think, in the next 6 months. But we're trying to get, you know, the soil healthy so that it can be more resilient in the future. And we've got lots of other exciting projects coming up soon. In the next few months, so I'll be really excited to share some of that with you. I hope that you're getting something out of learning from all of our mistakes that we've made. I think one thing about moving off grid and trying to be more self-sufficient is that you don't realise just how long it's going to take to establish everything and how expensive it will be. Winter really teaches you patience. We've had quite a lot of frosty cold mornings lately, and I think we've got down to minus 2.4 degrees here that we saw. So we're trying to make sure that we're watering everything with sea salt every 2 weeks to keep it strong and resilient from the frost. Peas love our winter here, and the cool weather suits them beautifully. So give them rich soil with plenty of compost, something to climb, and keep picking them regularly, and they'll keep producing. They're one of those crops that quietly reward consistency. Lately, obviously, I've been thinking a lot about grief, and people often say that time heals. But I'm really not sure that's quite right. I think you just learn how to carry it Some days it sits quietly beside you, and other days it comes back and burns like the sun. You can't look directly at it. You have to look off to one side for a little while your eyes adjust, and maybe that's okay. So we planted shelling peas, snow peas, and sugar snap peas all together here. And so these big pods that you open up and pull out the peas are the shelling peas. The snow peas are the skinny flat ones, and the sugar snap peas are the fat ones, but they're shorter. So you can eat the whole pod of pretty much all of them, but the shelling peas not so much. I'll use most of these peas that in a stir fry that I'll make for dinner tonight. So the shelling peas are English peas, and they're grown for the sweet pea inside. The pods can become tough, fibrous, and they just don't taste that good, especially when they're older. So the young, immature pods can be eaten, but once the peas start filling out, most people shell them and compost the pods. But sugar snap peas are bred to have thick, juicy, edible pods with no tough lining. So the whole pod is quite nice. And obviously the snow peas, the smaller that you pick them, the more tender they're meant to be. You could also make a light pea pod stock out of those mature shelling pea pods as well, or a soup. You just simmer it with pods and onions and herbs and a little garlic for 20 to 30 minutes, then strain the liquid, and that has a delicate fresh pea flavour and a nice way to use something that would otherwise go in the compost bin. We've got this glass pane or window over the top of a passion fruit down the bottom of these pea vines. So we're just trying to protect it from the frost. So the glass is quite heavy and it's squashing those pea vines, but we didn't really have another alternative to protect the passion fruit vine at this point. But yeah, the pea still seems to be growing up around it quite okay. We'll have to think of a better solution for next year. Come to think of it, if the passion fruit survives, it should be vining up all over that area next year anyway. Well, at least during the warmer months. So we might have to grow the peas on the other end. This is the best our peas have ever looked. They're actually taller than me now. When we first came here, I honestly don't think I could have imagined this. The soil was so hard and hungry, and every year we've added compost, old manure, fallen leaves, homemade compost, anything that would feed the life in the soil instead of just the plants. Looking back, I think it's been the biggest difference. So we created this new raised bed beside the covered archway, and I'm filling it with some beautiful rich soil. I get about halfway through, and then mysteriously the rest of the other half just fills itself. I need to buy some more of these self-filling raised beds.
We find ourselves starting from scratch, brick by brick. No path carved out.
So I'm just going to spread a nice thick layer of organic loosened mulch over the top before planting these potatoes. I cut the potatoes a little while ago, so in each piece I sort of left some healthy eyes on them, and I left them out to dry in the sun. Actually, I probably left them out in the sun a little bit too long, so they're a little bit shriveled. So I don't know if they will grow very well, but I can always create some more in the future if they don't come up. I figured that a deep raised bed would make the potatoes happier here because they'll have heaps of fertile soil that's loose, so they have room for the tubers to grow. And as the plants get taller, we can mound more soil because this soil will sink down a little bit as well. So yeah, I'm just hoping that they, like the last few times we've got little potatoes, some of them were a little bit green because they'd been in the sunlight. So yeah, it just helps to hold moisture through the dry spells, and hopefully we'll get some a bigger harvest in the end. So I'm planting these potatoes about 10 to 15 centimetres deep. And I'm trying to make sure that the eyes on the little potatoes are facing upwards. Planting potatoes always feels like burying hope. You tuck them underground and trust that something good is happening where you can't see it yet.
I look down for you in the middle of my pain. I reach down farther, calling out your name. Always I'm searching for a long lost piece of heart.
So we have a big pile of this pine tree mulch here, and I keep getting weeds like stinging nettle and grass and stuff trying to climb into this garden bed. So I thought I'd put a little path of the wood chips along the side of this garden bed to try to help with that. And I'm also using these wood chips to create a little stepping stone pathway to our outhouse as well. So yes, I've been buying little bluestone pavers. They're pretty expensive, so I only afford probably 2 or 3 each payday. But I've been trying to get the little pavers so that we have a nice little garden path, but we need a lot more as well. So we actually put cardboard down underneath the pine tree or pine bark mulch here, which I should have done next to the garden path as well. What are you doing, puppy? You're sleeping on the mulch. So this path is only a few pavers longer than it was last month. Everything here is being built little by little, and maybe healing is like that too. You don't wake up one morning and discover the grief has disappeared. It softens. So I've got this little spot out here, right out the back of my garden. No one really comes, and I do all my potting up here of seeds, sowing my seeds, and sometimes I used to come out here and I used to have a glass of red wine and talk to my dad, because my dad used to love drinking red wine in the evening, and sometimes I used to call him and we used to chat for an hour or so, and we used to have a couple of glasses of our red wine, just like I do when I would go and see him face to face. And when I picked up the ashes, I promised my stepmom and my stepsister that I would have a glass of red wine with my dad, which I'm doing. And I was thinking about burying his ashes with a big tree. Like when my sister and I were little, my dad used to take us on the Ulmarra ferry. We thought it was really exciting when we were little. And when we used to wait for the ferry, we'd park the car, get out and sit on the ground and underneath this huge pecan nut tree. And Dad used to help us collect all the pecan nuts, and we used to crack them open and eat them and sit there by the sun with the water. And such a peaceful memory. And I think that's what I'd like to do with my dad's ashes here on our property. And maybe bury our daughter's ashes with him as well. Something I'm thinking about. But if you have any other great ideas, let me know.